Hey everybody, so welcome back to the channel. So I was really curious as to how I was going to do this one because it needs to be done to fill all the attachment styles. Even though I predominantly, as it will become evident, be focusing on fearful avoidant because it's one of the least talked about, one of the least known, and when you encounter it, you will benefit from having a concept of what's going on. So we will today tackle, I'm not going to, it gets labeled as boring, right? Okay. So a dismissive avoidant can think a secure relationship is boring. However, the majority of the population in relationships sits at 60% is secure. So, um, so what is it? Secure is when you are raised in a family with parents or caregivers who fulfill your needs as a child. Generally between the ages 2 to 7 is what's determined as your blueprint for personality. I know a lot of people have massive issues about blah, blah, blah. All you psychologists and all this information is all about the childhood. Well, when you do enough study, when you encounter enough damaged people and they need to do the repair, unless it's like a current trauma, like divorce, loss of a loved one, military trauma, like something current, if it's just general relationship trauma, well, sorry, not so much trauma, well, you will be traumatized if you are not secure and if you're like fearful avoidant, anxious preoccupied, you will incur like it will be quite traumatic, the breakup of a relationship. So that's your secure comes out of the wording, secure meaning safe. So as a child, you are safe. If you need to be fed, you are fed. If you need a hug, you're given a hug. If you need to talk, the parents will talk. Their needs are met. They're not ignored. They're not dismissed. There's no anxiety around it. The parents are available. Okay. And if they're not available, they will quietly and calmly explain to you that they will get back to you when they can. So inside secure is effective communication. So I will improv later, but I will just get some sort of definitions out the way of what it is so you get grounded before I work on more examples and my own experiences with it. So there is a myth that it's the boring secure. So it's, I guess, if you're a traditionalist or a conservative, someone who's progressive or experimental would find that traditional conservative side of lifestyle or whatever boring. So in attachment style, it's not that much different in real terms. Particularly if you are craving excitement and you are grown up in a household of drama, to come across someone who's secure, it can be quite a culture shock reality check for you that your life doesn't have to be full of drama. It doesn't have to be full of fights. It doesn't have to be full of suspicion. It can be calm, collective, and you can still have excitement within it. because your relationship's safe. Then you can build on top of that. You can explore your hobbies together, apart. You can explore different foods. You can, if you know you're going to go home and your partner's there, they're not going to pick fights with you. If you had a problem, they'll listen to you. You can sit down, communicate, and your worries are taken care of. It's more possible to have a fuller lifestyle. So, it's not boring if you want to just go, I'm in love, it's monogamous, there's no drama. Like if someone's in a bad mood, if you're in the way, they won't generally target you. You won't be the wrong target. And if they do, they'll actually acknowledge it and then go, I'm really sorry, that wasn't meant for you. Okay, as opposed to there's not much protest behavior in it like the other attachment styles. So we've sort of gone over that. So it's a foundation for growth, okay, which is a good way to explain it. So let's look at how the other styles relate to it. So just to reiterate, like it's secure, and your other three attachment styles are actually deemed insecure forms of attachment, and that's quite important to remember. So an insecure with a secure is highly beneficial to the insecure. Your secure, if they're strong enough and rational enough, calm enough, and they actually love you, they'll work with you to help you come across the secure. When you're co-regulating by, say, physical touch or communication, your anxiety will calm down. So if the physical touch thing just you co-regulated, dopamine hits, oxytocin hits, and you can just calm down. And then you don't have the drama. You're not going to go home and go, well, is there going to be a fight? Is the person going to have their bags packed and they're gone? There's none of this stuff happens in secure. For the most part, there's always going to be exceptions to the rule. So I'm just going to read some stuff off the screen and talk the rest of the time. But so it says the nervous system stays regulated, which automatically helps regulate the partner system. They don't react to panic with panic. They react to presence. So the core belief is I can trust my own feelings and I can trust you to be there when I need you. And that's the really important thing in secure. It's not like they're going to go, you're too much drama. If they're not secure, you could just be struggling to get through your day. And as much as you love your partner and they come along with one more problem, that can be problematic for you. So that's when really good communication is needed. So how do the other styles either flee or flock to the secure? So you have your anxious, preoccupied. They will gravitate towards it because the anxious, preoccupied, their predominant fear is being abandoned or being unseen or unheard. Okay, so that's where anxiety comes from when a parent hasn't been around for them. The parents could have had addiction problems, mental health issues, and they just couldn't cope with being compassionate and communicate in an effective manner. So this reads as a secure solution Anxious preoccupied feels safe because a secure partner offers predictable availability and constant reassurance. The secure person doesn't use withdrawal as punishment. And trust me, some of the other ones do. They'll storm off out the door, they'll shut down, they won't answer phone calls. So, when the insecure has this, the secure, it allows the anxious person to turn down the volume on their anxiety. Co-regulation works. They feel safe to realize I'm not actually needy. I just needed a reliable partner. So how is that for a takeaway? It's not that if you're anxious relationship, more likely dismissive anxious isn't a good match. So if you have been dismissed by a dismissive, you will then be branded as needy. It's like, oh, give me my space. You're just smothering me. But that's from someone with their unmet needs and their issues, and they're dismissive of you. Like, I would rather go fishing on the weekend than have dinner with you or whatever. And they might just want to see you once a week. And for an anxious, that will never, ever be enough. They like the commitment and they like the regular connection to their partner. So on to dismissive avoidant. So according to this, they are repulsed by the secure, which is why they remain dismissive avoidant, and they generally don't stay with a partner for long. So, okay, so this is saying the myth is that dismissive avoidants flee because they don't know how to love. I mean, I've bought into some of that I actually think that's how they get described. So why are they repulsed? The reality. Dismissive avoidants flee secure because secure is the greatest threat to their self-sufficiency. The DA system is built on internal self-regulation. Deep, available love, secure, forces them to depend on another person. I don't actually like the way that's written. I don't know how it's forcing them to do anything. It just means the other person's available. To the dismissive avoidant, that dependence feels like a loss of control, a loss of freedom, and ultimately a loss of self. They equate deep love with suffocation, so they steer clear of the very thing that could heal them. That's actually quite well written. And that's true. That's true. So your dating pool is generally full of dismissive avoidants and a smaller number of fearful avoidants and some anxious preoccupied. But generally secures jump onto a dating site, find each other, work out they're compatible, get off the dating site. Your dismissives and fearfuls will go into relationship, go into avoidance, deactivation, come back. They might go on a dating site, unless like a fearful avoidance met their phantom X, or they've actually met someone that co-regulates and it's like their utopian partner. They can circle back to that person because they might try to date and go, I just can't get anyone close to what I had. But that's a lot of work. But it's certainly, there's enough research and statistics done on it. But that'll be the next one we look at, fearful. Not often. DAs, dismissive avoidance, can circle back. I've actually read case studies of it. They can come back. But if you got a secure partner that gets when they're going to shut down, it can work. If the secure is feeling if I let them have their space, they won't walk out the door. So it's a lot of work, but it's not unachievable. So, but the irony is that the very connection they need is very connection that can heal them, but they'll usually avoid being healed. They could literally be with someone and have it all. They can have their freedom, and they can have the partner when they want the partner if the partner's on board with that. So, fearful avoidant. All right, so it says negotiation. So the fearful avoidance paradox, they crave closeness but fear being rejected or being suffocated. This is the most complex one. So the secure solution, a secure partner can make it work if they have a deep understanding of the fearful avoidance ping-pong cycle and can constantly offer unconditional space when requested. The secure person doesn't take the fearful avoidance push away personally, which slowly teaches the fearful avoidance space doesn't equal total abandonment. This is such an important point. So if you don't know you're dating a fearful avoidant and all of a sudden they disappear, or the trendy word is they ghost you, but a dismissive avoidance more prone to ghost you and just go, I'm done with that. They don't even need that person. Your fearful avoidant actually wants the connection, but it's the connection itself they're scared of. It's never, ever, ever the person. So if you've had a fearful avoidant partner, please don't think it was you. Don't think you did something wrong if you weren't aware of what was needed to be done. So the way is to give them space. There's even a thing you'll learn later on that's all over the internet. You can go look it up, of no contact, where you actually just work out the best thing you can do is let them have their space, because when you reach, they get smothered and actually pull away more. It's a very difficult situation to be in. So what do we got? So no, this is a good one, because just because you're secure and it sounds really nice, doesn't it? If you haven't had partners who have been responsive, can communicate effectively, give you your space when needed, don't pick fights, it sounds like utopia, right? However, secures still have their issues, because there's still the personality clashes, different tastes in music, different tastes in movies. One can love sports, the other may not. There can be all of that sort of personal stuff going on. One might want to do study, the other one doesn't. It can be career changes. All of that can still be disruptive to a secure when there's end game in sight and you have a different end game. Even if you can love confidently and talk, if you just are different people, you're different people. But it's not like a big Shakespeare play when you would call it quits. You'll sit down and go, as much as I love you, there's a job over here I really want to take. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity. The other one's going to either go, you know what, I wouldn't mind doing that and go with, or they can go on, this is a difficult situation for us. They might try and make it work. It's just one of those things where I don't want it to sort of come across as that if you are secure, you are immune to like divorce and trauma and some conflict. There will be conflict, but it's the way the conflict is dealt with, which is the difference in the attachment styles. It's like everyone is prone to the same things on planet Earth, but it is the way you respond to them which makes the difference in attachment style. So this talks about the myth of the utopian relationship. I sort of coined that phrase when I was putting notes together. So Secure relationships are not 100% guarantee of happiness. They still have problems, personality clashes, and intense disagreements. Can you imagine on the political spectrum, say, that could be a make or break. And if one drinks and one smokes, there's all of this to factor into it. So, but the difference is that they repair instead of rupturing. So the secure, this is rather corny, but it says the secure superpower isn't avoiding conflict, it's mastering repair. So a non-secure fight. Fights are about winning, punishing, or withdrawing, which is rupturing. I'm sorry, so that's non-secure fight does that. Your secure fight is about reconnecting. They fight with the explicit goal of understanding your partner's point of view and restoring safety. Secure partner will often say, I'm willing to be wrong about this if it means we can connect. Okay? I'm sure some of you dismissive avoidants, if you're wasting your time watching this, are like, yeah, it's just a weakness. They're cowards. They're not standing up for themselves. They actually have a lot more strength than someone that walks away. Trust me. So, because that's when, it's like, I'll be the bigger man and apologize. I'll be the bigger person and apologize thinking. So, what do they have, which maybe other attachment styles don't have? So they have, generally speaking, you can write in and go, oh, I know someone who's secure and they're this. I'm sure you do. I'm not saying this, what is in any of my videos is the be all end all of anything. There's always exceptions to a rule. There's always variations on a theme. And attachment styles can actually be fluid. They're quite, you're this, you're that. But if you're anxious and you meet secure, you can actually become secure. So, and you can work on it yourself and become secure, but it takes work and acknowledgement and repair. So, all right, so it's made, I've got the script written out and it's like the CEO of the feelings. They don't react to feelings, they process them. They can tolerate discomfort, your anxiety, their partner's anger, without shutting down or lashing out. They show you that big feelings are safe to explore, and that's their effective communication. So a secure partner is the best launch pad for personal growth. They encourage your autonomy, hobbies, success, seeing it as a benefit to the relationship. And that's right. Because nearly anyone says relationships require work. Relationships are compromise. Some people don't want to compromise, and that's fine. But they shouldn't also not I don't know. So it's a little bit contentious of my think on it. But sometimes I just think, like, don't bother going on a dating site. Like, if you're not going to be secure and if you can't come to the party on actually having a healthy relationship, don't waste your time and other people's time on a dating site. Because most people on a dating site, if they're ticking off boxes of whatever it is, long-term relationship or marriage, view to marriage, and others are more like casual flirting, if you're dismissive avoidant, you're better off targeting the casual flirting stuff because it's not going to fly with someone that actually wants to settle down because you don't. You might just want some connection with someone within your framework, and it won't suit someone who's secure because they actually generally want the long-term commitment. So All right, so it says they're a master of boundaries. Secure people are often mistaken for being people pleasers, but they have the clearest boundaries. They communicate their needs calmly and assertively without getting defensive or aggressive. They say no without feeling guilty and accept no without feeling rejected. This clarity is the ultimate form of stability. And that's quite poignant, isn't it? It's like, just think about how many of us get hurt. If it's like, do you want to go and see this movie with me tonight? And another person says, oh, I've got a headache, or I've got an exam tomorrow. I'm sorry, but I can't. Even if there's a sorry in it, and like maybe next week, you can still take it personally. You could have been at work and go, oh, this movie's out, I want to see. I'm sure my partner will go along, we'll have a nice time, and it doesn't happen. Of course, you will be disappointment. There is disappointment in life, no matter what financial status you are, social status, whatever. There will be disappointment of some form somewhere along the line, and it can be in relationships. So, all right, so we're sort of at the end, unless I go look at some other stuff, which I can do. So we'll sort of look at this, and then I'll see if there's more to dig into. So it's saying like secure attachments isn't about boring consistency. It's about emotional complexity without drama. Fair enough statement. It's about having a co-regulator who doesn't abandon you when you are at your worst. Remember the memes around, if you can't handle me at my worst, you can't handle me at my best? Be interested in working out what attachment style wrote that one. But depending on what they mean by worst, if they mean like just screaming and throwing bottles at your head, it's probably not a good place to go. But if they mean if they're sick or get headaches or they're upset and you can't handle it, it's fair enough that when they're happy and outgoing, you can understand why someone is like, if you're not going to be there for me when I need you, I'm not going to like just be available when I'm fit and healthy and capable of meeting your needs. So whether you are anxious avoidant or secure leaning, working towards the secure attachment style is simply working towards self-trust, because when you trust yourself, you can trust others. So, yeah, so pretty much that covers it. I mean, I took a look if there was anything else, but I guess the biggest thing you work out if you're like dating or know couples, to label them as secure, you generally get that it's communication. It is effective communication. So when they're in the partnership, when they find someone, they'll generally sit down and talk it through. It can be everything from whether there's enough intimacy in the relationship. There can be things like, I don't feel you're spending enough time with me. It can be things like, do you think you could put the dishes into the sink? There could be things like all those little things that people up the wall. Instead of protesting about it and letting it smolder and erupt into a fight, they cut this stuff at the start. Like, if you feel safe enough to communicate, and once you see that one little thing they're doing that annoys you, you will be able to go and stop it right then and there. It won't go on for weeks where it builds up, and then you're protesting, and then you get moody and angry, and then the other person's like, what's going on? When all you can actually feel safe that I need to tell them the way I'm feeling. Then the feelings will be discussed. And they can go, I had no idea that was annoying you. It's not a problem for me to do that for you. Okay? That's the secret. The secret. There was an old corny saying somewhere that communication is the universal solvent. If the only way things improve is communicate. So you repair the damage, you repair or fix the conflict, the problem, whatever it is, it's worked out. And this is what separates them from dismissives who don't want to know and avoid you. I know there's one answer the phone that it just like, I don't have time for that stuff. There's a fearful avoidant is they could be in the anxious style and they're with you and you're there going, oh, this is great, what I want, and then they're just gone. And you've not seen and worked out the deactivation. So what happens is there's no communication. They just go, as much as I love the person, I'm losing who I am and I want my autonomy back. And it's the push-pull thing, and it can be from parents who loved and then abused and loved and abused and left. And so when there's a co-regulation, it's amazing. It could even be more amazing and secure, in all honesty. It can be utopian. There's a mirroring of needs and it can be the happiest ever been. But then, say you've got to go off on work but somewhere else or whatever, there's a reason you need to be away for a little while, this person can plummet and they can go, it hurts so much for the person to go, don't want to go through it again. They just go, I can't have this incredible euphoria of love, and then they're just gone. And they can't even like rationalize it, go, they'll be back and I can have that. They'll come up with some reason. It's sort of like that I'll hurt you before you hurt me mentality. But that person over there has no intention of ever hurting their beloved here, but their mind from their past runs like that in their head. This is too good to be true, too good to be true. Something's going to happen. I'll make it happen before it does happen to me. And that's it's really quite despairing, and it's really quite sad, because there's incredible people out there who are fearful avoidant, who just have difficulty maintaining a healthy, secure relationship because of what happened when they were children. So some of them get labeled as monsters and horrible people, the dismissives do as well and that, but dismissives don't tend to get close. They have those functional relationships where it's just like, let's meet Thursday, Friday night, so I need to do my stuff through the week. And the two dismissives can work with that. But then there's usually, they don't talk. It's just that you think of dismissive. I'm not taking their call. I'm not sending a text. I'm not interested in their feelings. Your fearful avoidant they'll sit down and they'll worry too much about you, and they'll worry themselves sick, and then they worry so much they exhaust themselves. And your anxious is that as well. But your anxious, if they're not good at communicating, can actually go into protest behavior and go, oh, how come you don't have time for me? Or I really was looking forward to you answering my text. And they just don't get a person's going to be there, and there can be real life issues. So you see, your difference is the willingness to discuss feelings, rationally come to workable conclusions, is one of the primary differences in each of the attachment styles, right? So I've done fearful avoidant. Now we've done secure. Anxious will be an interesting one because one thing I was curious about was jealousy, how jealousy can come up in different relationships. And strangely enough, secure can have jealousy, or they not so much jealousy, but um, yeah, there can be a worry that maybe the partner's so good, maybe they don't have good morals. They might that there could be a risk that they might find someone and that they might have the morals ended. But one of my little pet peeves, people, is that with shows like Cheaters and this general go-to, I mean, I had a rant about this in another one, but I'll rant about it as much as I can because it comes up. I was in a discussion with someone last night and they flagged jealousy as a possible reason for someone pulling away from someone else. And it's not in the attachment style. It's not what it is. It is something else. But if someone's not able to dissect attachment style, if they're not able to actually put their own preconceived ideas of a relationship aside and put themselves in someone else's shoes and understand what it's like not to have the wonderful childhood or to have trauma from their different partners, whether they're men, women, they could just have a series of poor choices, they could be vulnerable, and there's abuse and there's no connection, and then it's just not healthy, right? So you just go from unhealthy to unhealthy. I actually have a friend who said they enjoy being in a toxic relationship. They seriously use those words. Maybe they're not fully understanding words, but they were like, I feel awkward making contact every day, you know? And then they said, I enjoy being in a toxic relationship. I mean, that's some of you know, the women who chase the bad boy thing, because that could be the way their father was. I knew someone who only understood love through being hit, through being physically abused, was in their mind, when daddy hit me, he loved me. I literally had someone tell me these words, right? So it's just so many differences, there's so many complexities that you can't just sit there and go, if that person does this, it's because of this. I know I'm doing that with attachment style, but when it's like maybe they were jealous, maybe they cheated, whatever, maybe they've got a drug problem. They could have a drug problem. You could be married to someone who's a secret alcoholic and they behave irrationally. There could be a myriad of things. But I guess for me, because I'm doing something like this, I've taken the time to read books that have an understanding of things. And some people aren't interested in that. It's black and white. It is this or it is this. But as one of my teachers said, we live in the land of the grey. Okay? It's always ebbs and flows. It's barely ever black and white. So after that little rant, just so let's not just have a reactionary knee jerk to a situation where you just you hear something and go, oh well, it's got to be that. Just has to be that. There's no other answer. I'm telling you, it's that, and it's probably not that, because this person has just learnt one thing, observed one thing. Maybe they watch Cheaters and go, if there's trouble in a relationship, cheating. That's it, cheating. It might be attachment style, it might be love language, it might be drug problems, it might be mental health. It can't be any of those things because I watch Cheaters, they're cheating. That, as you can tell, is just, if Do you want to be that way? Go ahead and be that way. But just realize that you are more than likely utterly and completely wrong with making that comment about a couple whose relationship could be in trouble.